All right, everybody. I guess welcome back to the Touching Grass podcast. This is a podcast where two Appalachians and two Midwesterners get together to talk about what's going on in the really real world in an effort to push back against the two online dipshits that we see and hear from on a daily basis. Today is Tuesday, July 8th. I'm Woods, and I'm here with Adam and Charles. We're missing one of our Midwesterners. We're missing one of the Midwesterners. I was trying to figure out who's who.
Yeah,
how's it going, guys?
We're a majority Appalachian podcast tonight.
Yeah, that should get us some tax break or something. So how's everybody doing? Everybody settling into the new reality that Donald Trump? I just saw today that Donald Trump is going to get that Nobel Peace Prize because Benjamin Netanyahu nominated him for it.
You see,
Pakistan also nominated him.
Yeah.
I was going to say, the fact that Benjamin Netanyahu nominated him means that he is less likely than me, who, to my knowledge, nobody has nominated to get the Nobel Peace Prize.
And it was silly. Like I saw the clip this morning. I think while I was it might have been live, but I saw the clip this morning while I was getting ready of like Benjamin Netanyahu. He said something, leaned across the table, and awkwardly gave Donald Trump a letter. Donald Trump thanked him in that stupid way Donald Trump has of thanking people, where he doesn't know what he has in his hands or what's going on. He just thanks you like you should have done this for me no matter what, like that pompous way of thanking somebody. And I just kind of blew it off, and it wasn't until later today that I like heard the audio of what happened there. I was like, oh god damn it, like that's just so just plays Trump like a fiddle. So annoying. But that's not the thing we want to lead off with. I just kind of made that up because I saw it. You guys want to discuss a SCOTUS ruling that I am going to play devil's advocate here because I know jack shit about it. I mean, I know that they ruled, but I don't know the intricacies of it. And from my naive opinion, the ACLU argued on behalf of trans people, and that if correct me here, they argued on behalf of parents' rights, which they thought would be appeal to this court. Am I off there? Because that's
it's a little more nuanced than that. But
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so. If I could ballpark it, if I could nail it for us, not knowing anything about it, then we're in trouble.
So I don't. Oh, Adam, can you do the technical legal breakdown? I just want to.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I want to correct one thing that Wood said, and that is that I don't want to discuss this because nobody is paying me to read a Supreme Court opinion right now. But not yet. The case which has come into the news, which is titled Skrmetti versus United States, which is a bit of a misnomer at this point because Skrmetti and United States are, due to the change in administration, actually now on the same side. Usually the name of the plaintiff comes first, but when you get up on appeal, that gets reversed several different times at different levels. Skrmetti is actually the name of the Tennessee Attorney General, who at the time that this litigation began was adverse to the official position of the United States on whether it was permissible for states to restrict or prohibit the prescription of puberty blockers, hormones, and surgeries to treat gender dysphoria in minors, which is the subject of the lawsuit. And in a 6-3 opinion written by Chief Justice Roberts, the Supreme Court ruled that was permissible for states to legislate and did not violate equal protection principles in doing so. So I've set the playing field. Any takes from everybody who's read the opinion or coverage thereof?
So I just want to kind of dive in here and say, Woods, part of the problem was that the ACLU didn't argue parental rights here. That was the argument that would have gotten Amy Coney Barrett.
Right.
The argument that they made, and for the record, that argument almost certainly would have lost too, but it probably would have lost less. The argument that they actually made was trying to expand. What was the case, Adam? Bostock,
yeah.
Yeah, they were trying to get Gorsuch to expand his ruling in Bostock when they'd actually barely achieved that victory in a much less divided court. And it was clear that he wasn't going to do that.
I think where their strategy was here
was non-existent.
Well, since Bostock, Roberts has joined voting blocs recognizing the precedent set in Bostock, because Roberts has I would, in a prior era, say normal, but in this era, admirable respect for precedent that he disagreed with it initially. So I think that their game plan was Gorsuch wrote Bostock. We're going to pitch to Gorsuch, and we're going to pitch to, by pitching to Gorsuch, pitch to Roberts, because he is a stronger adherent to stare decisis than a large block of this court is. But their argument just missed, because we don't, the way the Tennessee law, which was the center of this lawsuit, is structured, there's just not and again, to give my disclaimer here, I'm not talking about the merits of the lawsuit. I am not a medical clinical professional. I have no opinion about the underlying merits of what the clinical efficacy is of hormonal or surgical treatment of gender dysphoria on minors. I'm a lawyer, and I'm talking about what the legal arguments are here and the legal principles to which the arguers were appealing. And this was not a good case, based on the wording of the Tennessee law, to make an equal protection or a Bostock-based argument pitched to a Roberts court.
Yeah. I don't think this court, I don't see any way this court would side with protecting, transgendered Americans in any, I don't know how you would have to word that lawsuit for this court, this extremely conservative court, to side with that, especially now that they have the backing of the administration that wants to go the other direction.
Not this way. So the way that and some of the coverage of this has just been bad, and it led me to believe that they didn't read the opinion, because they were trying to take the position that, oh, well, this is obviously sex-based discrimination because different people of different biological sexes receive different hormones in treatment, different surgeries in treatment to treat gender dysphoria. But the way the law is written in Tennessee, it doesn't restrict whether somebody of a certain sex can receive a certain treatment. It designates a certain diagnostic criterion that cannot be treated in minors with these types of hormonal or surgical interventions. So it's the same prohibition that's applied across sexes. So you don't really have the Bostock style extrapolation of sex discrimination into gender presentation here. It's just from a legal standpoint, it's a bad argument.
Yeah. I understand that. It makes sense.
Yeah. So part of why I added it was because the New York Times Magazine, I added this to the agenda. The New York Times Magazine did a really thorough breakdown of what led us to this moment in time, including about 9 years of strategic buildup and decisions that got made. And what it looks like here is that the ACLU really went off on their own here and acted unilaterally in ways that other advocacy organizations in the space really did not want them to, because they felt that it was a very high risk play to make with the potential for really substantial losses in terms of what sort of precedent might be set and later expanded on by a conservative court. And so now we're here having seen a rights-based argument based on immutable characteristics be made under a theory of gender performativity that may or may not fully reconcile with that. And we got a fairly predictable result from a massive strategic miscalculation.
Yeah, I mean, there's no, so this is the ACLU attorney who argued the case got into, and I will say, maybe I should have, I didn't read the ACLU's amicus brief, and not a lot of attention was paid to it in the majority opinion or in the dissent, but it was discussed at length in Justice Alito's concurrence. And there is just this issue or any other issue, there is no issue where spending a significant amount of time discussing Judith Butler's theory of gender as performance is going to be persuasive to these 9 individuals, or a majority of these 9 individuals.
Well, it might be persuasive just in the opposite direction that we don't.
Yeah, I mean, everybody who's ever taught a class has thought that they had nailed a lecture, and they just lost everybody. You know, like it might be like your niche thing, and so you're like super into it, and then you go into this minute detail about the subject, and you just lose everybody else in the room because they're at a superficial level. You know, everybody's made that miscalculation when you're trying to teach something or present something. So like that, I can get my head around that. Like you just swung for the fences with the wrong bat. But I don't know. I mean, I can't think about this without just, I mean, you guys are talking and I'm over here half listening with a seething rage at Mitch McConnell for just the reason we have this fucking court anyway. Like I can't give that up. And I don't think, and then that's the reason that a decision like this comes up and is so difficult, because we have a 6-3 court. Like we have these specific ding dongs in SCOTUS, just because Mitch McConnell doesn't,
right. But like
calling him a hypocrite is just like, okay, whatever.
Right. But there's also like, especially when it comes to, a high stakes situation, there's really no virtue in playing a losing hand to a total loss.
No, and from what I understand, and I will say the lawyer here didn't read the dissent because, or I skimmed the dissent, but I didn't read it in depth because, a really well-written furious dissent and $1.50 will get you a cup of coffee.
Right.
It's just nothing. Like you can't cite it authoritatively. It's just there for catharsis legally. It doesn't, there are probably right now a lot of screenshots of the dissent being shared on Facebook, and that will do absolutely nothing for the cause those people want advanced.
Yeah. You're right. It's just they're just being, it's cathartic. You get out the points that you thought should have won the case for you. But yeah, it always strikes me as just like your local town newspapers letters to the editor page, where somebody's just going, and as a person who gets these phone calls in real time, somebody just going off because their neighbor has different colored trash cans or something. Like, who gives a shit? It doesn't stack up.
Also, just gonna throw this out there: if you're a person who's arguing before the Supreme Court, typically it's a bad idea to give interviews saying that you're a constitutional lawyer who fundamentally doesn't believe in the Constitution.
Well,
That falls into one of those like bad idea things.
Well, that puts you in a different conversation.
If you're
like
gonna
like I have friends that I'll tell that we should like scrap the Constitution, and they're just like, oh my god, and they get the vapors and they have to sit down on a fainting couch because they don't let me finish the sentence and say because we could amend it or put something in its place that is as good or better. You could.
Will disagree with you there and say that I do not think we should have a constitutional convention at this point in time.
Oh yeah, right now it'd be a mess. Yeah. But like in a perfect world, if me and the three guys I was talking to at the bar could do it ourselves, yeah, you could scrap the Constitution and instantly put in something that has better protections for everybody that doesn't take 100 years to give them the right to vote, shit like that. But whenever people say like I don't believe in the Constitution, there's a certain percentage of people that like you said will just tune out automatically because
right. And in this case, that certain percentage of people constitutes an outright majority on the court who identify as originalists.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So although, like
their originalism has taken some funny turns as of late, but
it has. But like there is also a virtue to shutting the fuck up when the only thing you're gonna do by opening your mouth is hurt your case because the justices and their clerks really do have nothing else better to do than see what you've said.
Yeah, that's true. Oh. I mean, that's a general rule of thumb in any situation. If you're going to hurt your case and or your livelihood or your well-being, just shut the fuck up. Nobody has to listen to you talk. As I say that on a podcast, the three of us are sitting here wanting people to listen to us talk.
Yeah, well, we don't shut the fuck up, but we also don't like argue for the Supreme Court.
We're smarter than everybody else, and people should listen to us more and other people less.
I like the way he said that. I like that. I like the way that's it. I like the way he phrased that.
Speak for yourselves, gentlemen. I'm a moron.
My wife likes to tell people, like, whenever people find out that I'm a physicist at work, she's like, wow, they say the 5 words, wow, he must be smart. And she's like, well, if he's so goddamn smart, why can't he load the dishwasher? I was like, yeah, good point. Everybody has their strengths. All right, so let's move on. I need somebody to explain to me what the fuck Elon Musk is doing with his America Party, which I'm going to Google this while you guys explain, because I knew nothing about this until it was put in the outline. Because as we've talked about before, I'm probably the least online guy on this podcast. I hardly ever go to Twitter unless you send me a link, and 9 times out of 10, that link is to point to some stupid right wing shithead did, like Alex Jones or Pete. What's that guy's name?
So this alleged party doesn't at this point exist. Elon has, as he is wont to do, fired off some takes that he is going to start a third party, which at this point he wants to call the America Party. And third parties, except for, I can think of 1 or 2 points in American history, they supplanted one of the 2 at the time major parties. But other than that, really haven't had any significant impact on our elections. The last time a third party candidate maybe influenced the national electoral landscape was when George Wallace ran third party.
Well, Ross Perot.
Well, I think there's debate about whether he actually impacted the final tally. I think it's debatable whether he took more away from Bush than Clinton or whether he took relatively equally from both. There are some states where he came in second. He didn't get any electoral votes.
Yeah.
So I think it's debatable whether Ross Perot impacted the outcome of that presidential election.
Huh. That's a weird take. Because like every time I've heard it brought up, it's that he was the spoiler for Clinton.
Well, Ross Perot was just kind of this vague populist candidate, which does appeal to traditional Republican voters, which does appeal to traditional Democratic voters. I mean, we don't have a comprehensive national survey of who every Ross Perot voter's second choice was. So it's really up there for speculation.
So is this your pitch for ranked choice voting?
No comment.
We are not doing ranked choice voting this episode.
Okay. Didn't know it was such a hot topic. I don't have a problem with it either way. Like, I'm very neutral on it. Like, it works in some places, doesn't work in others. It's fine.
I mean, if we're going to start firing off hot takes about what electoral system we're never going to have nationally, we would prefer, that can be a whole episode.
yeah. So one of the things that has been brought up about this America Party, and I just Googled it. Apparently there is not any official rule that you cannot have America or American in your party, because there's several third parties that already have, like the American Solidarity Party, and, blah, blah, blah. Apparently there's no hard rule about that. So, okay, if he wants to call it the America Party, fine. But to create a third party system, to create a third party in our overwhelmingly two-party system, you need a couple things. You need somebody who will put in the work, which is not Elon Musk, because, it's super fun to jump onto Donald Trump's campaign. And everybody should go back and do kind of like a whirlwind, like just a timeline of where Elon Musk was and where he shifted to the Donald Trump campaign, because he was all over the fucking map for that year. It wasn't until Donald Trump almost got shot that he was like 100% for Donald Trump. But yeah, it's super fun to just hop into an already established major political party campaign. And I guess Adam's eating dinner while we're doing the podcast. And
why do you think I was late?
He was just there. No. But yeah, it's super fun to just hop into an established political party's campaign, especially one as unhinged as Donald Trump. So you could say whatever the fuck you wanted to do. Maybe throw up a couple of Sig Heils. Spend about $250 million of your own money just throwing ads out, t-shirt cannon and shitty ads all over the country, and then do what you wanted to do with Doge, and then I guess get squeezed out in about 12 weeks. But like, to start an actual third party, the other thing you need is unlimited money, which he has. Like, this is not a fun thing. This is not like a weekend thing. This is not like when I got into challenge coins. Like, I got into challenge coins real hard for like a month because there's all these sciencey ones you could get. But like, yeah, that was fun, and it didn't cost me that much money, and I'm done with it. But like, to start an actual third party, it's fucking hard.
No, if we're talking about who in this country is in a position to fund a third party that has a real presence, yeah, Elon Musk is at the top of the list. Is he likely to storm onto the national political scene and replace one of the incumbent major parties? No. So I think the discussion is, what is the best case scenario, and what is the worst case scenario, and what is the most likely scenario that results from this project?
Well, I'll give you the most likely is that he spends maybe a couple $100 million or something just doing dumb shit trying to get this going, and it flames out really, really bad when he realizes that he's going to have problems with ballot access, and he's got to hire, set up an office in every state to get that. When it comes to the actual like bullshit you have to do at work, the actual tediousness of answering the emails and dropping off the mail shit, he's going to get bored with it.
Yeah. So for our listeners who are maybe not as familiar with the nuts and bolts of actually getting your shit on the ballot, because people can't vote for you if you're not on the ballot. What Elon Musk's America Party would need to do, aside from file its paperwork federally and in the states where it operates, for any state level race where they need to do their compliance work, you would also need to organize signatures to appear on the ballot. Now, each state has its own rules regarding how those signatures can be collected, who can collect those signatures, and a bunch of other things that really boil down to using the signatures as a way to prevent candidates from appearing on the ballot. That is why you have the signature requirement.
Yeah, and I think I heard today that like Georgia's is particularly a little bit heinous, like that you have to have 27,000 signatures to appear as a third party candidate in Georgia, and they haven't had a third party candidate since like 1985 because of it.
So in Wisconsin, it's 3,000 signatures statewide, which
how many Facebook friends do I have?
Seems
well that
and they have to.
I don't want
to. Hang on, Adam. Let me finish this, and then
sure.
I only have 800.
Yeah, and so in Wisconsin, it's 3,000 signatures. They must be eligible to register to vote at the time of the election, which, if you get down to it, means they don't actually even really need to reside in the state.
Yeah, that's true. You can say
as long as the I'm fairly certain I'm incorrect about that, but I may not be. It really depends on how our state bureaucrats interpret the statute. But if you can prove that Mickey Mouse signed it, your Mickey Mouse signature is valid. They presume the signature is valid here. It's what I'm getting at is it's as far as states with requirements go, we really do have one of the easiest requirements to meet for any state. And it is still possible to get challenged off the ballot here. Kanye West, for instance, in 2020 was removed. But we're the easiest, and it's still, when Kanye did it, took him hundreds of paid canvassers supervised by a number of people and several lawyers. So for, just like that boring, like nuts and bolts shit is going.
Right. Well, I just looked it up. Kanye West was he missed a filing deadline.
Well,
like he didn't.
So I actually participated in this challenge. We had him dead to rights on a bunch of other things too.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure.
It was, and had it gone to court, he would have lost on a lot of those, especially the canvasser who lived in an abandoned doggy daycare in Crystal Lake, Illinois. I was the one who visited the abandoned doggy daycare center.
There you go.
And put an affidavit in. But, that's kind of beside the point. The reason they decided on the signatures not being submitted timely after a 3-hour discussion about what time really means anyway is 5 o'clock, 5:00:00, or does 5 o'clock begin at 5:00:00, or 1/100th of a second after 5? That was the debate for 3 hours.
Well, I'm reading it, and I just skimmed over that paragraph because it seems stupid, but you're right. Yeah, they were talking about this 5 p.m. deadline. It was like, when is 5 p.m. 5 p.m.?
That was the entire hearing until they called the staff, and the staff said, no, actually, he turned them in like 30 or 40 minutes late. And then then one of the Republicans just broke ranks, and they voted to deny his access because it's an evenly split panel. So when one of the Republicans broke ranks, that's when they had the vote.
And from what I'm reading, a lot of these challenges come from when you're a third party candidate. A lot of challenges, and this is the one that always cracks me up, is like they don't live in the district. You don't live, and there's some places you can get away with that, like you can have 2 houses and things, but like was it a Wisconsin state representative? Like they had to have a special election because he didn't live where he said he lived, but there wasn't a two houses situation. But yeah, there's a lot of ways these things can get kicked off. It's fine. There has to be rules.
But my point is, we're like one of the least restrictive states.
Yeah.
When it comes to signatures, the signatures are presumed valid. It's entirely on your opponents to challenge them within like a 48 to 72 hour period. There really aren't that many signatures you have to turn in. It's still a massive undertaking. So to organize that in the span of, in terms of ballot access deadlines, 1 year or less nationwide, and recruit candidates, I mean, it's doable because he has infinite money. Michael Bloomberg proved that in the Democratic primary in 2020. Anything's doable with enough money. But in terms of candidate quality, in terms of who's actually doing this, is he really going to fund every election himself through a super PAC? I don't see this. And what's going to happen to Tesla's share price while he's doing this, and while each of these candidates who he's vetting and putting his money and name behind, gets vetted by people who aren't him. I don't see this being a thing that he does long term, or really for more than a few months at most before scrapping it entirely, because he's come to the conclusion that everyone else has, which is he will need to make up with Donald Trump or somehow make up with the Democratic Party. And neither of those things seems very likely right now, but
right. And the two-party system has its strengths and weaknesses. And one of the weaknesses is that it's not strong. They're not. I'm going to say they, not it, because I'm thinking of the Republican Party, because we watched Donald Trump walk in as an outsider and take over one of the two national parties, which is the Republican Party. But either party could be taken over in that sense. Like they're not strong enough to stand up against somebody coming from outside saying they're and then working through the process. But they are strong enough to keep this Elon shit out of equality. And my complaint for third party arguments has always been, usually when you listen to somebody talk about they want a third party, they say like, yeah, it's not fair. I'll use the Green Party as an example. Like, yeah, it's not fair that the Green Party doesn't have all the ballot access and notoriety that the Democratic or Republican parties have. And basically they want equal footing at the table, but not to put in the work over the decades that the Republican Party and Democratic parties have done. They just want to start right there with as much clout, influence, and money as the other parties. Now, I don't know how they expect that to happen, but Elon Musk does have the money to make that happen.
Well, I mean, a lot of states, the Green Party and the Libertarian Party do have default ballot access. It's just that they don't run serious candidates and people don't vote for them. The Green Party is basically a grift machine to run for president every 4 years and siphon votes off the Democrats.
Right.
They don't, by and large, run candidates for state legislature, for city council, the types of things that you would do if you were serious about building a party to eventually supplant one of the two major parties.
From the ground up. Yeah. So Adam,
but I do want to potentially asterisk, maybe correct something you said earlier, Woods, which is that Georgia hasn't had a third party candidate in recent memory. They did have a candidate. There was a Libertarian candidate for Senate in, I believe, 2020.
Oh, okay. Maybe the statistics I heard was like presidential politics or something.
I guess it depends on what they mean by third party.
Right.
Because does third party mean a candidate that is not a Democrat or a Republican, or does third party mean a candidate that is not a recognized ballot access party?
Right.
Which the Libertarians might be in Georgia. I don't know.
Yeah. No, and you're right. And the Libertarian Party, is the same. They have ballot access and they have a presidential convention, and they, I always get tickled when some of these real far right wing nut jobs will have like, I'll be listening to them because I, went down a rabbit hole or something. They're like, and we're going to have on the libertarian presidential candidate. I'm like, oh shit, they have one of those. Like, I don't know who he is, like.
But so let's get to the fun part of this discussion, which is, what is the best case scenario for Elon's political party project here? And I will say that I think the best case scenario is that Elon somehow funds and gets on the ballot an America Party, or whatever it is ultimately called, candidate in all the major swing states, and they shave 5 to 8 points off the Republican and only like 2 to 4 points off the Democrat, and they push a couple of Democratic candidates across the line. I mean, I think that's the best case scenario.
Especially the way he has been embraced by conservative leaning voters in recent years. I mean, like I said, you should do a speed run of where his political allegiances were up until now, from like, because he hated Joe Biden, but before Joe Biden, he was very, renewable energy, go to Mars, all this stuff that aligned more with democratic and liberal tendencies. But he
just went so hard for Donald Trump that I don't think he's redeemable in the Democratic tent or any party associated with his brand.
No.
So I don't think there's a scenario, or there is no reasonably competitive state where an Elon party candidate takes more votes away from the Democrat than they do from the Republican.
No, I 100% agree. And I think we should also bring up the fact that, as per the ethos of this podcast, that would be the most online political party
it would
we could think of.
Now, to back that up a step from the most ideal situation, if Elon and whoever else goes in on this party with him is really strategic about what races they contest, if they presumably don't want to throw the Senate to the Democrats and they only run candidates in red states, is the Elon party candidate preferable to the Republican candidate? And I think in most states they probably would be from a Democratic standpoint.
So I'm going to do a counterpoint, which is that his best case and his worst case for this party are in fact the same thing. And it's what would happen if he devoted all of his resources that he wanted to this. He'd fall flat on his face, just like he did in the Wisconsin Supreme Court race. Because in order to get this thing off the ground, that's the amount of money he'd need to invest in each of these races. At which point, every single candidate could literally just point to whoever they were running against and run back the Wisconsin playbook for this, which is really to just say, my opponent is Elon Musk. Do you want to vote for Elon Musk?
But
every single person in this country has been culturally conditioned since they were a small child, whether they're a Democrat or a Republican, to hate literally every single thing about this man. He is a fucking comic book supervillain.
I disagree, though. There are are 51% of any of the voters of any state going to vote for the Elon Musk candidate? No, of course not. But we don't need that to happen. We just need 5 to 8% of people who are more likely to vote for a Republican than a Democrat to vote for the Elon Musk candidate, and I think that's perfectly attainable.
I mean in terms of best case and worst case scenario for his candidates.
Oh, well, for his candidates, I don't care about his candidates. I'm talking about best case scenario for me and what I want to see.
Yeah. I think we're also kind of assuming that if Elon Musk starts his party, he'll be the candidate. But
he's constitutionally ineligible to run for president.
Exactly.
So,
and he can't run for all of the offices that his party could run people for in the midterms.
Exactly.
That's not how that works.
Elon, as a registered voter in the state of Texas, could be the America Party nominee for Senate in Texas, but
that may actually be the best case for Democrats.
Yeah,
because that, if only his employees vote for him, that's probably about 50,000 votes. I haven't actually checked how many people Tesla employs there.
Elon Musk for Senate could, let's say, I think the best case scenario for the Texas Senate race for Democrats is Elon Musk is the America Party nominee for Senate in Texas, and Ken Paxton beats John Cornyn in the primary, or John Cornyn retires. And you've got a three-way race between Cornyn and Musk and Colin Allred or James Tallarico or whoever it is that comes out of that Democratic primary. I think you got to like the Democrats' chances in that three-way race.
Yeah. Because, like I said, because in the past, since ever since Elon Musk went so hard in, as Adam said, so hard in for Trump, and the sycophants for Tesla and Cybertrucks and Musk, those guys, the super online guys that bought a Tesla truck and then just think that he is a complete genius. And I heard some bullshit story about how, like, he says Elon Musk says he comes into the office with a rocket engine part in his head, and he describes it to the guy doing 3D modeling, and they 3D print it right there in real time, and then Musk points out where the fail points are. Like, he's just such a genius. He can do all this in his head, like a Goodwill Hunting bullshit. That's not happening. He's not doing that.
Now,
so,
the
real people think that.
The real wild card scenario, I think, is if Elon's party is his hypothetical party, if it ever gets off the ground, is very strategic, and they only run candidates in very red states. If you've got an America Party candidate running against the Republican in Idaho, do the Democrats just stand down in that race?
Yeah. Why would they? 78% of the people who approve of Elon Musk also approve of Donald Trump.
Well, because if the Democrats stand down in that race, I mean, is the America Party candidate in Idaho, I mean, that's just a wrench in the gears. That's a chaos element if he wins. It's not like the Democrats going to win.
Well, I mean, at that point, if they actually, it really depends on, like, if you think the vote's going to split evenly or not.
I think in an Elon Party candidate versus Republican race in Idaho, the Elon Party candidate probably gets 80.
Oh, sorry, you said Idaho. I thought you said Iowa.
No, I said Idaho.
Okay.
Yeah. No, why would the Democrats ever stand down in Iowa? Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, you did mention John Cornyn earlier, guys, and his name is Big John. All right. There is a 17-year-old hype video that he produced for the Republican Party of Texas that is the single funniest campaign video I've ever seen in my life, that doesn't come from West Virginia because, well, your billionaires are crazy, Adam.
Okay, excuse you. Don't use the plural there. We only have one billionaire.
Oh, right, because your guy who hates Mitch McConnell lost all of it.
Yeah, well, he didn't lose all of it. Jay Rockefeller just isn't a billionaire anymore. He's like an 800 millionaire now.
No, the other one who kept talking about McConnell's family.
Oh, he is actually not a West Virginia resident, and I don't think he was ever a billionaire. He lives in Nevada now.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
By the way, Charles is referring to Don Blankenship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Who, to my knowledge, has never been a billionaire, but also he is now a resident of Nevada.
So, Woods, you really should play this video because it is the funniest thing ever. It's just so over the top.
If I remember this.
But we refer to John Cornyn as Big John in this house.
Get on with it here. Unmute.
Long ways to go. We sent him to Washington to the really big show, Big John. Big John, Big John. Big Bad John.
This guy's like a Harvard-educated lawyer. I'm just pointing this out.
That's such cringe.
Okay.
Playing as a rancher.
It's actually very similar to the Big John Purdue commercials when former West Virginia State Treasurer John Purdue ran for governor. Except that John Purdue is a little more authentically redneck than John Cornyn, so it's not quite as cringe in that respect.
Yeah. Well, it's always fun to watch our elected officials try to cosplay as real people when they're
excuse me, UVA law.
oh,
It's
not a I mean, he's a lawyer. He's not a goddamn rancher. That's the point. Yeah.
Who prior to that commercial had served as an associate justice on the Texas Supreme Court and the Attorney General of Texas.
Well,
total rancher.
I don't know why I just thought of this because we were thinking about you're mentioning electoral election ads. The one I always liked was from God, I forget his name. I listened to his podcast. God damn it. Jason Kander, where he assembled an AR-15 blindfolded because he was like, I was a Marine. That was a good ad. I wish he had stayed in the race.
Well, the race he dropped out of was for mayor of Kansas City. But he came closer to winning a Senate race in Missouri than anybody not named Claire McCaskill has since the 90s. Yeah.
I mean, he unplugged from politics as a whole to deal with his PTSD, which I'm 100% behind. And got a good podcast, Majority 54. Although I don't think that math stands up anymore, but whatever. That's okay. All right. Do we want to talk about? I'm going to close out. We don't have to go long this week. It's just the three of us. I am personally titillated by the fact that we somehow had an Epstein client list that was on somebody's desk, and now it's not on somebody's desk. Now it's gone, and the White House is now kind of scrambling, and Trump's kind of scrambling now because they've decided that this is over. There was no Epstein client list. He killed himself. Like they're 100% trying to squash this conspiracy theory that's been going on for years on the right, and it's a Rorschach test for whatever your politics are, kind of thing. Like whatever your politics are, you kind of look at the Epstein debacle and kind of reflects back to you what you think is wrong with the world. I will say that I think the entire Epstein scandal, him getting a sweetheart deal, him being friends with Trump, him killing himself. I mean, it's all so bizarre that it's one of those types of stories that whatever you tell me could 100% be plausible. You tell me if you tell me that you got Donald Trump on camera saying that, yeah, we rubbed him out because he was a problem. I'm like, I could believe that. You tell me that he killed himself because he was looking forward to the rest of his life in prison and he was a rich, pampered guy and he didn't want to go that way. Also can believe that. Like, I'm pretty open, and my bullshit threshold was pretty high on this one. But the way that the White House has turned themselves into knots over this, and especially the way the right-wing media that has used this as a baseline for like all of their propaganda are just shit their pantaloons, and I'm loving it.
I just don't think it's that bizarre. I mean, you look at, you have a guy who spent his entire life in the lap of privilege. I don't know if his entire life. I don't know how he grew up, but he was a very rich man for most of his adult life.
Right.
And then he thought he was out of the woods, and then now he's staring down the barrel of spending the rest of his life in prison as a convicted child sex offender. I think it's entirely reasonable in that situation that unless you have some very strong religious convictions, it seems incredibly reasonable to kill yourself in that scenario. And the public evidence that he was some kind of pedophile concierge to the very rich, as opposed to just being a very rich pedophile himself, is very thin.
Oh, it's entirely paper thin.
Well, I don't know if I'd call Prince Andrew thin. He's a portly fellow, after all.
Yeah, he is almost translucent, but yeah.
Occam's razor points to the Trump fan base got themselves so worked up about this for so long.
Yeah.
And it was always just a conspiracy theory beyond the fact that Jeffrey Epstein was a rich pedophile. And it took an adjustment period once the dog caught that fucking car for them to admit there's just not much here.
Yeah. Well, and to further your point that's 100% agreeable is that, like I said, it's a Rorschach test. I can never say that word correctly for your politics. Like the Republican, more conservative Republicans, and then of course the right, the complete loons on the right, have built this into something that will be the silver bullet to everybody they hate. You know, if the Epstein list is finally put out, it will have every Democrat they've ever hated, and they'll be allowed to go.
Everybody can find a picture of Jeffrey Epstein with any number of prominent people they hate because the guy was a prominent New York City socialite. Like, yeah, he's got a picture with everybody famous.
Right. It's kind of how like everybody panicked when all this stuff about Diddy came out, because everybody had tried for the last 2 decades to be around Diddy and get a picture with Diddy and be be within arm, be considered part of his crew, and then all that shit drops and they're like, oh well, that sucks, because now there's like you're exactly, I think you're 100% correct, and I never once believed that there was some conspiracy that he didn't kill himself. But the funny thing is because of the Trump administration is so full of such just untruthful ding dongs that's my wild card.
So
that's
I'm going to partially counterpoint you guys here. First, to be clear, he killed himself. He 100% did that shit. That's like all of the physical evidence points to that. The fact that he went from being outrageously wealthy and free to do whatever the fuck he wanted to, with almost 100% certainty, staring down the rest of his life in the federal penal system as a child sex offender was more than enough motive for him to kill himself. The counterpoint I'm offering is that I do think that there is sufficient evidence to say that he did act as a procurer in a limited role for some of those friends, because Prince Andrew does exist. Prince Andrew's victim, or the woman who survived what Prince Andrew did, was found largely to be credible within the British legal system, which has a much, much higher bar for defamation in terms of the defenses that are allowed.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I want to clarify.
I just want to say, like, I think like the conspiracy side of it is, okay, people like, oh, this person was pictured with Jeffrey Epstein and went to his island, therefore they like fucked kids together. And that's not really supported by the evidence that we have, but we do have evidence that he acted as a procurer. And I don't want us to lose sight of that, because
I want to, based on that, clarify what the point is that I was making there, which is not that like nobody who ever was associated with Jeffrey Epstein also molested kids. Because certainly there is public evidence to suggest that, with at least one
molested children who Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell procured for them, and that's the little grain of truth that makes the conspiracy theory compelling.
But what there is not evidence for is that Epstein was running some kind of formalized service, and he had this client list and was like running a timeshare on his island for you to fly out there and molest kids. Like, there's just not evidence for that.
What they want to do is they want to turn this, the few instances that we have evidence of procurement, into another DC Madam case, and there's just not evidence of that.
Yeah, and they take the elements which we do know to be true, and they read a lot more into them, and that's a time-honored tradition in American politics for all stripes, going back
Yeah, but
You
to Adam's, to your point, Charles, and to Adam's point, like they caught this car. The conspiracy theorists caught this car, and they've been using it for and just that little evidence. Just the even if there's a glimmer of connection to is it Prince Andrew, that's all they need, and they run with it, and they run full speed with it. And if I had time and thought about it, I would have animated, a Looney Tunes, chasing the car and that car stopping dead and then just pile driving into the back of the car, because that's what's happening now. Like now they don't have anywhere to go, and it's going to be fun for the next couple of weeks. I do not think that this is the schism that the mainstream media is trying to say it is with Trump and his supporters. I think it's just a bunch of real right wing loons like Tucker Carlson and Alex Jones and
his supporters writ large, no, but the thing about Trump is that he's always been willing to go to the well that 50 years ago got written up as the paranoid style in American politics by Richard Hofstadter. He's always been willing to go to that well of like the truly paranoid crazy. That part of the horse, like, in horseshoe theory, how there's that gap between the horseshoes. That's like the schizoid cloud. He's always been willing to go to that.
We call that the Glenn Greenwald zone.
Yeah.
Yeah. I call it the schizoid cloud because it orbits it orbits the two poles, but it's a highly elliptical orbit, and you never know where exactly the crazy is going to be within there. You just know that it's there and that it's paranoid and that it's nuts. It could be left wing, it could be right wing. You're between the two prongs of the horseshoe, so you can never really tell one way or the other. And Trump has always been willing to go to that conspiracy land for support. So this probably does fracture a little bit of his relationship with that base of support.
Yeah, to go back to what I was saying about the potential Elon party candidate in Idaho, it's a wrench in the gears. It's a chaos element. It's a weakening of the base of support, which is what malign, put on my tinfoil hat for a second, what I think malign foreign actors have been trying to do to the Democratic Party the past 3 election cycles is just, it's not to openly promote the other party. It's to just chip away little by little at the party you're trying to sabotage's base of support. Yeah, and that's what I think this Epstein issue does to the Republican coalition. It's what I think Elon's alleged political party does to the Republican coalition.
Also, like, just to be very clear, like that group of voters I'm talking about, it's not a very large chunk of his coalition, but it is there.
But when you look at the margin in the past 3 presidential elections, especially at the state level, that slice of the coalition is electorally significant.
Yeah, I mean, when your margin's 0.5% and we're talking about, 2% of your supporters being absolutely fucking off their rockers, like, yeah. And he has gone out of his way to court that group of people.
Well, and it also stems from the fact that Donald Trump will say anything at any time, anywhere, and not give a shit about it. Like that's another one of his superpowers. Where a traditional politician would not go to that, hybridized, area between the two between the two ends of the horseshoes. He'll go there and say whatever he needs to pull that 1%, 2% to get him over the finish line, and then the next day not give a shit. Like just say he didn't say that. He's completely malleable. So yeah, that makes it easy for him. And then if I'm trying to think of a conspiracy theory that he started his whole political career on birtherism, And now he will deny that. So, I mean, that's just one example, but that's all right. Well, guys, you think we want to actually stick to an hour tonight?
Well, we still have what's the stupidest minor mistake you just can't let go of or get over?
Adam, you had your hand up. Do you have something else you want to say?
Oh, no, I was about to say something, but we have moved on and it's not topical anymore. So go ahead.
All right. Well, yeah. I put this on here just, earlier this week because just quick question for you guys. Don't have to think too long about it. But like Chris said, like Charles said, sorry. What is the stupidest thing that you did? Like little small mistake. I'm not talking like life-changing thing that, that you got into that like keeps coming back and you can't forget. And I'll give you my example. And I don't know why I can't let go of this. About 6 months ago, I was vacuuming the house and I used a little crevice tool for a vacuum to clean out, the corners of the house and the couch. And I left it on the couch. And our dogs were a little bit younger, 6 months younger, and they chewed the shit out of this thing. And I didn't really want to get mad at them. They just chewed the end, the slanted end, right? And I was like, oh well, what is it? So I just tossed it. And then like 3 days later, I realized I could have just cut that end off and made a new flat end, and I'd be fine. But now I can't find, because it's like a small 1 inch like attachment. Now I can't find the same attachment, and it's bugging the shit out of me for 6 months. Like I'll be just at work and like somebody will like walk through with a shop vac and I'll be like, can't believe I threw that fucking thing away. Damn it. Just the littlest insignificant thing that just keeps popping up in my life that I can't get over or that I kick myself for. You guys have anything like that?
So very recently, a couple of weeks ago, in fact, I was out doing yard work and the spool on my string trimmer jammed. So I sorted that out, rewound it, put it back in place. And when I went to test it out, I was holding it up and had kind of leaned over a little bit. And when I tested it to make sure that the string was feeding again into the notch, it cut the cord on my earbuds.
Oh, I thought this was going to go in a much worse way. Yeah.
No, I cut the cord on my earbuds. It was my last pair, and I had to finish my yard work in silence. And
shame.
I keep going back to how dumb that was.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought you were going to say like it nicked my ear or something really bad.
So in keeping with our theme of yard work, I have a gas-powered lawnmower. And I do all of my small engine maintenance myself because it's relatively easy and I have the tools for it.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, I don't. Some people enjoy it. I'm not one of them, but it's easy enough to do, and it's cheaper and easier than hiring someone. So you'd think that having done all of this for years now, I would not make the same fucking mistake every year. You'd be wrong. Without fail, every single year, when I go to mow my lawn for the first time, I forget to flip the little valve for fuel on the side of the mower.
Yeah.
Into the position where the fuel actually flows like it's supposed to. So every year, without fail, I will spend between 5 and 30 minutes trying to figure out what the hell is wrong with my lawnmower that I just spent, quite a bit of time making sure it was ready to cut grass. I can't get over that because it is the dumbest minor little thing I know that I do it. I know that I do it every year. And I'm almost at the point now where I'm going to like write like a little note to myself and tape it to the fucking lawnmower.
Yeah.
Is the fuel valve in the right position, comma, dumbass.
Yeah.
I
have almost the exact same story with my snowblower, because I have a snowblower because we have to use it up here, and like the fuel choke, the fuel choke, kind of like your switch you flip, is so far under the machine, I can't see whether the line gets bigger going to the left or the right. And so every other year I like start it up and it runs fine for 5-10 minutes because it's whatever I've primed it, but then it conks out. And I literally have to lay down on the concrete in my driveway and like with my flashlight and fix it. So I completely feel it. You feel like a complete moron. And I wonder what my neighbors think.
Yeah. See, I don't even have that excuse. This thing is like right on the side of the mower. It is in a plainly visible, easily marked space. It even has like a little diagram on it. If it's in this position, no fuel. If it's like this, there is fuel. And every single time I just forget. And the first time I did it, my neighbor, who's in his 70s and who loves small engine maintenance, thank you, Lou, you're a lifesaver, saw me struggling with this for like 20 minutes and then walked over and said, your problem is that there's no fuel.
Yeah, sometimes it's all it takes. Sometimes it's all it takes. Yeah. Well, I think that's a good note to end it on. Anybody else have anything else?
I don't believe so.
Yeah. Well, at this point, everybody should be able to find our podcast on YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud. I think I'm still having issues with iTunes, but we'll get there. So you should be able to find our podcast anywhere you listen to your podcast. We appreciate it. Remember to like and subscribe. That helps us out, gets us able to live stream at some point, which Chris is the one that wants to live stream because that's his background. So we'll hopefully we'll do that in the future. But until then, I guess say goodbye to the nice people.
Good night, nice people.